The ground actually trembled. It started as a low mechanical rumble that rattled the morning teacups sitting on our wooden porch table before shifting into a deep rhythmic growl. 5-year-old Henry instinctively stepped back, his tiny plastic sandals pressing firmly into the loose soil of the driveway. He reached up, his small fingers wrapping tightly around his mother's hand. Tuna held on just as fiercely. Neither of them said a word. They just stood by our fragile bamboo gate, watching in stunned, uneasy silence as a massive 40-foot international shipping container truck slowly backed into our humble yard. The sheer size of the steel box blocked out the morning sun, casting a long, heavy shadow over the garden we had tended with our own hands. Just 2 years ago, Tuna and I were sitting at our scratched kitchen table late into the night, quietly folding thin cardboard boxes, packing a few kilos of dried vegetables to sell at the local market. Today, the world had come to our doorstep. Welcome back to our home. If you've been with us, you know we started with nothing but a quiet patch of dirt and a promise to build a safer, better life for our family. But as the deafening hiss of the truck's air brakes echoed across the quiet valley, a cold realization washed over us. When you finally reach the next level, when you invite global commerce into your quiet backyard, you no longer control the rhythm of your own life, and sometimes the weight of that progress is terrifying. The morning dew hadn't even burned off the taro leaves when the truck driver climbed down from his high steel cabin. He didn't look at the mountains, and he didn't care about the quiet beauty of our village. He carried a heavy clipboard, walked straight over to me, and firmly tapped his watch. We had exactly 2 hours, 120 minutes before the port cut-off time. If the container wasn't loaded, perfectly balanced, and sealed by then, the ship would leave without our cargo, and the crippling logistics fees would fall squarely on our family's shoulders. For months, this day had lived only in our imaginations. This was the culmination of our expansion, the first direct international export of our village's premium processed cassava. Inside our rustic, open-air warehouse, the air was thick with the sweet, starchy scent of the harvest. Towering stacks of pristine white product sat securely strapped to heavy wooden pallets. It represented hundreds of hours of backbreaking labor, sweating under the sun, peeling by hand, drying on the bamboo racks. It was the combined hope of our entire community. But staring at the cavernous, empty belly of that shipping container, the sheer scale of the logistics felt suffocating. I held a digital manifest tablet in my hands. The bright, high-tech screen glared sharply against the dusty, weathered wooden pillars of our barn. It felt entirely out of place. We were used to measuring time by the arc of the sun and the changing of the seasons. Now we were bound by digital manifests, strict weight distribution laws, and the unforgiving ticking of a corporate clock. I wiped a bead of cold sweat from my neck and looked around the warehouse. Our neighbors, men like Uncle Bar with his worn, sun-faded shirt and calloused hands, were standing by. They were master farmers, men who could read the soil and the sky with perfect clarity. But they were not warehouse logistics experts. The gentle rhythm of the farm was being violently replaced by the frantic urgency of a factory floor. I had to step up. I started directing the movement, pointing to the heaviest pallets first. The truck driver watched us with a critical eye, arms crossed, waiting for a mistake. The pallets had to be loaded in a precise sequence to distribute the tonnage evenly for the ocean freighter. A lopsided container is a dangerous container. Tuna moved quietly through the chaos, bringing bottles of cold water to the workers, her face calm but her eyes betraying the deep, underlying anxiety we both shared. We were no longer just a husband and wife trying to feed our son. We were carrying the financial livelihood of everyone in this room. If we failed today, we didn't just let our family down. We failed the village that had trusted us. The forklift engine suddenly roared to life, sputtering a cloud of diesel smoke into the clean country air. The pressure inside the warehouse was mounting. pulling tighter and tighter with every passing minute, building toward a breaking point neither of us saw coming. For the first 40 minutes, the loading process felt like a delicate, incredibly heavy dance. Min, our newly hired forklift driver, was a good, honest man from the neighboring village, but his hands gripped the steering wheel with white-knuckled tension. He was used to hauling rough timber, not perfectly sealed crates of premium, export-grade cassava. Every time the heavy metal forks slid under a wooden pallet, the old engine groaned in protest, and the suspension dipped dangerously low toward the ground. I stood by the truck's massive rear doors, carefully checking off each serial number on my glowing tablet. The physical effort in the humid room was palpable. You could hear the heavy, rhythmic breathing of Uncle Bar and the older men as they manually guided the swinging pallets into place. We were making good time. A steady rhythm was finally settling in over the warehouse. But this is the hidden danger of scaling up a small family operation. When you push a quiet rural farm into brutal industrial speeds, the margin for human error disappears entirely. We were on the 14th pallet, a towering stack weighing over 200 kilograms. Min reversed the forklift, preparing to make the tight, backward swing toward the container ramp. But he misjudged the uneven slope of our packed dirt floor. The forklift's left rear tire dipped into a small, invisible rut. It happened in agonizing slow motion. The heavy wooden pallet violently tilted. The thick nylon strapping groaned under the sudden shifting weight, stretching tight until it snapped with a sharp crack. A sickening, heavy thud shook the wooden floorboards beneath our feet. 200 kilograms of pristine, perfectly processed white cassava crashed directly onto the dark, unforgiving soil. A thick cloud of brown dust bloomed into the air, coating everything. For 3 agonizing seconds, the warehouse fell completely dead and silent. The only sound was a few loose, broken pieces of white cassava rolling to a stop near little Henry's sandals. Then the truck driver leaned out of his steel cabin and aggressively slammed his hand onto the air horn. The harsh, metallic blast cut right through our farm, a terrifying reminder that the clock was still ticking, and the corporate world did not care about our rural accidents. The heat instantly rushed to my face. I felt a sudden, suffocating wave of panic and pure frustration tightening my chest. That spilled pile wasn't just ruined product. It was weeks of our community peeling, washing, and drying under the brutal midday sun. It was our collective reputation scattered in the dirt. I dropped my digital tablet onto an empty crate and marched toward the forklift. Min had immediately killed the engine. He sat completely frozen in the driver's seat, his face pale and completely drained of blood. He knew exactly what this meant. In any factory in the big city, an expensive mistake like this meant instant, unapologetic termination. He braced his shoulders, waiting for me to yell, waiting to lose the fragile income his family desperately relied on. But before I could utter a single angry word, Tuna stepped directly in front of me, blocking my path. She didn't look at me. She didn't look at the truck driver who was still tapping impatiently on his metal door. She just looked quietly at the ruined pile of white cassava mixing with the dark earth, and then she looked up at Min. In moments of high pressure, you learn a hard, practical lesson. There is a profound difference between punishing fear and managing failure. When you build a business with your neighbors, true protection means guarding their dignity on their absolute worst days. Tuna walked calmly to the corner of the dusty warehouse. The silence in the room felt heavier than the humidity. She reached out and picked up a wide plastic shovel and a stiff bamboo broom. She walked straight back to the forklift, holding the shovel out. Min's trembling hands reached down and took it. "We have a clean tarp in the corner," Tuna said. Her voice was incredibly steady, carrying no anger, only absolute grounding focus. "Spread it out right now. The top layer is still perfectly clean. The bottom layer goes to the pigs." We have exactly 5 minutes to repack the clean weight. Move. That quiet command instantly shattered the paralysis in the room. Uncle Bar didn't hesitate for a second. He dropped straight to his knees in the dirt, his calloused hands rapidly sorting the pristine white pieces from the ruined dusty ones. I felt a sharp, sudden sting of shame for my initial anger, and I immediately dropped down into the dirt beside him to help. We weren't a faceless corporation, we were a family. And we were going to fix this together with our own hands. We moved like a single breathless machine. The sharp spike of adrenaline had completely wiped away our physical exhaustion. There was no time to speak, no time to complain about the heavy humidity pressing down on our backs. There was only the synchronized, desperate rhythm of calloused hands moving rapidly over the blue tarp. We salvaged every pristine piece of cassava, brushing off the smallest specks of dust and carefully restacking them onto a fresh, reinforced wooden pallet. Tuna wrapped the thick nylon strapping tightly around the corners, securing the final knot with a fierce, practiced tug. When Min started the old forklift again, his hands were no longer shaking. He smoothly lifted the heavy load, reversing the machine with a slow, deliberate precision. We all held our breath and watched in total silence as the metal forks finally slid the last pallet deep into the dark, cavernous belly of the shipping container. Then came the sound we had been waiting for all morning. The truck driver stepped up to the back of the trailer and swung the heavy metal doors together. They slammed shut with a resounding heavy boom that echoed powerfully across the quiet valley, vibrating right through the porch of our simple wooden house. We had made it with exactly 4 minutes to spare. I handed the digital tablet to Tuna. Her hands were coated in a fine, chalky layer of white dust, but she smiled softly as she firmly signed her name on the glowing screen. The hidden cost of scaling up isn't just the sleepless nights or the aching muscles. It's the sudden, terrifying vulnerability. You realize you can no longer carry the heavy weight of your family's future alone. You have to step back and rely completely on the shared sweat, the quick forgiveness, and the unshakable trust of your neighbors. The massive diesel engine roared to life, shaking the taro leaves one last time. We stood together by the edge of our dirt driveway, Henry's small hands safely tucked into mine as the giant steel box slowly pulled away. It was carrying the hopes and the hard work of our entire village out to the rest of the world. From the shadows of the warehouse behind us, Uncle Bar and the tired farmers broke into a loud, triumphant cheer. I reached out and wrapped an exhausted, protective arm around Tuna's shoulders. She leaned her head against me, releasing a long, quiet breath she seemed to have been holding for 2 years. The frantic, industrial pressure was finally gone, and the warm, familiar peace of our rural home gently settled back over the yard. When you push your family beyond the safe boundaries of a quiet life, terrifying mistakes are inevitable. But we learned today that true security isn't found in a flawless, perfectly balanced ledger. It is found in the people who willingly drop to their knees in the dirt to help you fix what is broken. Tuna looked away from the settling dust of the road, gazing up toward the distant sunlit hillside. Up there, our tiny pomelo saplings were quietly swaying in the afternoon breeze. A new season is already taking root in the quiet earth. We are no longer just tending a small plot of land, we are growing an empire built on soil, forgiveness, and trust. If you've ever had to rely on your community during a tough moment, please share your experience with us in the comments below. Leave a comment and let us know where in the world you are watching from. Reading them brings our family so much joy.